What makes someone recognizable? A monk wears his robe, a priest his collar, a banker carries a briefcase. But what does a Stoic wear? How do you recognize someone committed to a life of virtue, integrity, and philosophical discipline? Musonius Rufus once said, "Philosophy doesn't consist in outward display, but in taking heed to what is needed and being mindful of it." So, if there's no badge, no robe, no certificate, then how can anyone tell you're living by philosophy? The answer, as we'll explore in today's video, is as challenging as it is liberating. Make character your loudest statement. This video is not about ancient history. It's about how the timeless wisdom of Stoicism can shape your daily conduct, guide your choices, and ultimately define who you are. This isn't a lecture, it's a mirror. And by the end of this video, I invite you not just to understand these ideas, but to embody them. Part 1. Character, not costume. Let's begin with a simple observation. In nearly every role we see in society, there's a visual cue, a signal, a costume, and yet the Stoic, invisible, not because they're hidden, but because they refuse to be performative. There is no visual code for virtue. Only conduct reveals character. A philosopher, according to Epictetus, is someone who does not tell you they are a philosopher, but shows you through their choices. He warns us of those who rush to display new ideas before digesting them. In his discourses, he writes, "Those who receive the bare theories immediately want to spew them, as an upset stomach does its food. First digest your theories. After you've digested them, show us the changes in your reasoned choices." Philosophy is not a set of facts, it's not content for your next tweet. It's how you speak to your friend under stress, how you drive in traffic, how you respond when insulted. This is a radical stance in a world obsessed with projection. Stoicism asks, what if you stopped curating your image and started cultivating your soul? We live in an age of visible identity, Instagram bios packed with adjectives, LinkedIn profiles loaded with achievements. But the Stoics remind us that real identity is in action, not appearance. Your character is your philosophy, or to borrow a modern twist on an ancient truth, don't say you're kind, be kind. Let your choices be your philosophy's autobiography. Part 2. Choose, then become. Before you can live as a philosopher, you must first decide what kind of person you want to be. Epictetus is unambiguous. First tell yourself what kind of person you want to be, then do what you have to do. This is where modern life quietly sabotages us. We float, we consume, we react. But what if your life, like archery, required aim? Most people miss because they never even aimed. There is immense power in that first step, defining the kind of person you wish to become. Is it someone patient, courageous, honest, good? Then do the work that kind of person would do. This is not just motivational talk. It's ontological discipline. It's how the self is formed. In Being and Time, Heidegger speaks of authenticity as choosing one's own possibility and committing to it despite social pressures. Epictetus, writing 1800 years earlier, anticipates this. To become anything, you must first decide what is worth becoming. There's nothing abstract about it. If you want to be brave, then act bravely. If you want to be just, choose justice, especially when it's costly. Character is not born, it's forged. Just like the archer, you need to draw back the bow, focus, aim, then let go. Part 3. Show, don't tell. It's tempting to quote Marcus Aurelius in a debate, to drop a passage from Epictetus into a conversation and feel wise. But here's a harsh Stoic truth. If you have to tell people you're wise, you're probably not. Epictetus puts it bluntly. Show us the changes in your reasoned choices, just like the shoulders of gymnasts display their diet and training. Philosophy is not for display. It's for digestion. Think of the gym. You don't build strength by watching fitness videos. You build it by sweating, repeating, resting, returning. The same is true of philosophical principles. They must be chewed, digested, lived. Otherwise, quoting Stoic texts becomes nothing more than virtue signaling. Musonius Rufus says, "The justification for philosophy is when one brings together sound teaching with sound conduct." There's a quiet power in restraint, in choosing not to correct someone when your ego wants to, in choosing silence over self-righteousness. The Stoic doesn't lecture, they live. And that, my friend, is the most persuasive argument of all. Part 4. Philosophy is for action. What's the purpose of philosophy? To dazzle? To debate? For the Stoics, the answer was clear. Philosophy is for action. Musonius Rufus was perhaps the most uncompromising on this point. He writes, "What good is it to read or listen to lectures about self-control if at the same time one lacks self-control?" It sounds simple, but it's a revolution. Because modern culture tends to separate theory and practice. It celebrates intellectual curiosity without demanding existential commitment. But Stoicism doesn't care how many books you've read. It cares how you live. Ask yourself, are you less reactive than last year? Are you quicker to forgive? Are you braver when facing uncertainty? If the answer is no, then you've read in vain. The Stoics were less interested in knowledge as accumulation and more in knowledge as transformation. Knowledge that doesn't shape the soul is dead weight. Here, Epictetus echoes again, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Modern audiences might resist this. We're trained to collect information like trophies, but for the Stoic, every insight demands a corresponding action. Learned about temperance? Then eat with restraint, studied courage. Then face your fear, even when no one is watching. This is philosophy as muscle, not mere memory. Part 5. The test is life. Imagine studying for years, reading all the right texts, engaging in rigorous self-discipline, and then one insult, one inconvenience, and you erupt. What does that tell us? That the real exam isn't in the classroom, it's in life. Epictetus puts it with biting clarity. Do not say you are a philosopher, show it by how you act. A person's principles should be written in their conduct. Life is your proving ground. Every moment is a kind of test. The difficult person in your life? That's your seminar on patience. The failure you're facing? That's your practicum in courage. The Stoics didn't preach avoidance of hardship. They believed adversity reveals us to ourselves. Marcus Aurelius, facing immense pressure as emperor, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." You're not tested when things are easy. You're revealed when they're not. So the next time someone cuts you off in traffic, or you lose a job opportunity, or you feel overwhelmed, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "What kind of person will I be in this moment?" That's the real examination. And in that test, your philosophy will either stand or fall. Part 6. Philosophy without ego. One of the hidden dangers in practicing philosophy, or any discipline of the soul, is the ego it can breed. When you begin to see yourself as someone on the path, it's easy to start judging others who aren't. But that's not Stoicism. That's vanity in disguise. Musonius Rufus cautioned against exactly this kind of posturing. You will know the philosopher not by their words, but by their lack of arrogance. True virtue never shows off. It doesn't seek applause. In fact, the more genuine your practice becomes, the less you need anyone to know about it. In Enchiridion, Epictetus advises, "Be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Let that sink in. Be content to be misunderstood, to be underestimated. Because your task is not to impress, but to transform. It's easy to confuse performance with progress. But the Stoic doesn't care about being admired. They care about becoming free. Free from ego. Free from the need to prove. Free from the desire to dominate. This freedom is not loud. It doesn't posture. It simply is. So, if your practice of philosophy leads you to become more humble, more grounded, and less reactive, you're on the right path. If it leads you to superiority, condescension, or pride, then it's not philosophy. It's performance. Part 7. The quiet force of consistency. Consistency is underrated. In a world obsessed with breakthrough moments, Stoicism quietly insists that true strength is in repetition. Doing the right thing again and again and again. Epictetus writes, "No great thing is created suddenly. There must be time. Give your assent today, practice tomorrow, the next day renew." This is the rhythm of transformation, not in grand gestures, but in daily deliberate choices. Waking up and choosing presence. Holding your tongue when you want to lash out. Returning to your principles, even after you fail. The Stoic path isn't glamorous, it's disciplined. Marcus Aurelius called it the art of getting back up. He said, "When jarred, unavoidably, by circumstance, return to yourself more quickly." It's not about perfection, it's about direction. Are you moving toward virtue, steadily, quietly, consistently? That's the test, not how wise you sound in conversation, but how steadfast you remain in chaos, not how perfect your day was, but how often you recalibrated. Consistency is integrity in motion. Part 8. Character as your loudest statement. Let's return to where we began. What is your loudest statement? Not your words, not your social media posts, not even your philosophical references. It's your character. Musonius Rufus believed that the best way to spread philosophy was to live it, to embody its principles so clearly that others are moved, not by your arguments but by your presence. He writes, "The person who practices virtue does more good than the one who speaks of it." Character in this light is not ornamental, it's radical. It is your resistance to mediocrity, your quiet refusal to be petty, your relentless return to principle, even when no one is watching. In fact, especially when no one is watching. Think of the people in your life who've had the most impact on you. Was it because they were brilliant or because they were good? There's a reason we use the phrase "he has character" to describe someone admirable. It's because character is something you build. It's your daily sculpture carved by choice and sacrifice. Marcus Aurelius knew this. His meditations were not public sermons. They were reminders to himself. And yet, through them, we see a man constantly struggling to be better. Not for applause, but for truth. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. In a noisy world, character is quiet, but its influence is thunderous. People can't always explain why they trust you or feel safe around you, but they feel it. That's character speaking, and this is where Stoicism truly lands. Not in high ideals or clever arguments, but in how you treat others, how you handle pressure, how you hold yourself when things fall apart. Your philosophy is not a set of beliefs. It is your being, your presence, your poise, your patience, your silence when insulted, your strength in restraint, your refusal to be cruel, even when wronged. As Epictetus reminds us, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Because growth is not for show, it's for freedom. And freedom is exactly what Stoicism offers. Not freedom from life, but freedom in life. Freedom to choose calm, to choose clarity, to choose compassion, even when the world chooses otherwise. Part 9. Call to action. So I leave you with this. How loud is your character? When you walk into a room, when you engage online, when you face difficulty, what do your actions say about what you value? Not what you believe in theory, but what you live in practice. Ask yourself, where am I still reactive? Where am I still performative? And where can I be more grounded, more real? Philosophy is not for the bookshelf. It's for the battlefield of everyday life. The choice is yours. So, what kind of philosopher do you want to be? Let us know in the comments. What is one principle you are trying to live by more consistently? If this video gave you something to reflect on, consider sharing it with someone who might need it today. And remember, your loudest statement is not what you say. It's who you are.